All that money earmarked for Auckland comes on top of the $3 billion committed to the Christchurch rebuild. So how are we going to pay for it? Let's go to political editor Corin Dan, who's been figuring it all out. Corin?
Well, it's an ambitious plan, plenty of details on what is going to be built, but not a lot of specifics today on how it will be funded.
After 5 lean years, John Key seems to have suddenly found his chequebook. Billions this week thrown at rebuilding Christchurch and fixing up Auckland's transport woes.
The government's direction is crystal clear. We want to accelerate vitally needed projects and get on with the job. There is no doubt that Auckland is going to continue to grow.
But how exactly will the government pay for this multi-billion-dollar transport plan?
Proceeds of the asset sale program, money that will come from the National Land Transport Fund, money that the government will just simply write out an additional cheque.
Labor is scathing and says talk of using asset sales money is fanciful, as it seems to have already been promised for other projects.
On schools, on hospitals, and now he's announced $10 billion worth of transport spending. He can't just keep promising over and over to fund massive projects from the sale of their assets.
Tolling and partnerships with business are also a possibility to plug the funding gap, something the Greens warn would hit taxpayers hard.
What they're trying to do is have big spending promises and hope that nobody asks too many hard questions about where all the money comes from.
If we don't spend the money now, as a country we'll end up paying for it later.
When it comes to funding, though, time is on John Key's side, as he doesn't have to deliver on his promises for 7 years. He's banking on the government's books being firmly back on track by then, with plenty of extra surplus cash to play with.
Some big spending here, Corin. How's it likely to go down politically?
Well, very well. You can just imagine that this is going to be very popular amongst Auckland voters and certainly sets National up very well going into the next election. Very difficult for the opposition to counter this and really caps off a bad week for Labor in which they saw a poor poll result and fresh questions about David Shearer's leadership.
Not everyone around the country benefits politically, though. What about taxpayers and consumers?
Yes, well, I can imagine there'll be a few people around the country thinking, why on earth are they having to cough up lots of money through their petrol taxes, essentially, to help pay for Auckland's roads? Look, the argument is that if Auckland is doing well, then the rest of the country does, but I'm sure there will be some pressure that goes on the government to see that Auckland picks up its fair share with extra tolling and those sorts of things.
Thanks, Corin. Political editor Corin Dan.